Hi, I'm Arabella, a storyteller on YouTube. This story is inspired by real relationship confessions and has been fictionalized for storytelling purposes. Names, details, and events have been changed. If this story moves you, or if you see a part of yourself in it, please like the video and subscribe to support my channel. Now, let's begin. I had prepared for my wife to scream. I had prepared for questions, tears, maybe even hatred, but she did none of that. She walked past me, took the suitcase from the closet, and started folding clothes like I was already gone. No begging, no checking my phone, no one last fight, just silence. And the sound of a zipper closing. That was when I realized she had not just found out. She had already decided I was no longer someone she needed to hear. Before the day she left, I still thought I had time to fix it. That was the arrogance I did not recognize in myself. I had cheated, yes. I had lied, yes. I had come home with another woman's name still warm in my phone and let my wife ask me what I wanted for dinner. But I told myself the marriage was not over. Not yet. We still lived in the same house. We still brushed our teeth at the same sink. We still slept in the same bed even if there was more space between us than there used to be. She still bought the cereal I liked. I still took out the trash on Thursday nights. We still looked like a married couple from the outside, and because the shape of our life had not changed, I convinced myself the damage was manageable. I thought if the truth ever came out, there would be a scene. She would cry. I would cry. She would ask why. I would explain. I would tell her I was stupid, selfish, lost. I would say it meant nothing. I would say I still loved her. And maybe after enough pain, enough promises, enough time, she would stay. That was the story I had written for us without asking her. I did not just want forgiveness. I wanted control over the moment I needed it. I wanted to choose when the truth arrived how much of it she heard and what version of me she would see afterward. A man who made a mistake. A man who regretted it. A man still worth saving. But the cruelest thing about betrayal is how long you can keep living normally beside someone while quietly removing their right to know their own life. I thought silence meant I still had time. I did not understand that her silence meant she was already leaving. I did not think I was destroying my marriage. I told myself I was delaying a disaster. That sounds better, doesn't it? Softer. Almost responsible. I told myself there was no point confessing while things were already difficult. I told myself my wife had enough stress. I told myself I would end it first, become a better husband, and maybe the truth would never need to hurt her. But that was not protection. That was fear, wearing a decent coat. The first time I lied, it was small. She asked why I was late. I said traffic. Just one word. Traffic. And the world did not end. She nodded, put my plate in the microwave, and asked if I wanted tea. I remember feeling relieved. Not guilty enough. Relieved. That should have scared me. Because once a lie works, it starts asking to be used again. After that, I became careful in ways a faithful man does not need to be careful. I deleted messages. I changed routines. I gave answers before she asked questions. I learned which details made a lie sound ordinary. Too much detail sounded suspicious. Too little sounded cold. So I found the middle. That is how practiced I became. And still I told myself I was not a bad husband. I was just in a bad season. I was just confused. I was just trying not to hurt her until I figured out what to do. But every day I waited. The truth got heavier. Every normal dinner became evidence. Every night beside her became theft. Every time she trusted me, I stole one more piece of her right to choose what kind of marriage she was in. I thought I was postponing pain. Really, I was charging her interest. I thought she did not know because she still made dinner. That is how stupid I was. I thought suspicion would look louder. I thought if she knew, she would search my phone, ask where I had been, wait by the door, check my shirts, demand passwords. throw questions at me until I cracked. But she did none of that. She stopped asking. At first, I mistook it for trust. Then I mistook it for exhaustion. She still moved through the house the same way. She still folded laundry on Sunday afternoons. She still watered the plant by the window. She still put food on the table and sat across from me like we were two people who had not become strangers. But something had changed. She did not ask why I was late anymore. She did not remind me about appointments. She did not say, "Drive safe," when I left. She stopped reaching for my hand in the car. Small things. Quiet things. The kind of things a guilty man notices and then explains away because he is not ready to be afraid. I told myself she was busy. I told myself she was tired. I told myself marriages have quiet weeks. But this was not quiet. This was withdrawal. She was still in the house, but less and less of her belonged to me. One night, I came home late ready with another careful excuse. She was in the kitchen stirring soup. I said, "Sorry, my meeting ran over." She did not look up. She just said, "Okay." That was all. Okay. No suspicion. No disappointment. No relief. Just a word so empty it felt like I had dropped a stone into a well and never heard it hit the bottom. I stood there waiting for her to ask more. She did not. And somehow that scared me more than any accusation could have. Because anger would have meant she still wanted something from me. An explanation, a confession, a reason. But her silence felt different. It felt like she was already learning how to live without one. She did not catch me. She waited until she no longer needed to. That is the part I understand now. I used to think being caught meant one dramatic mistake. A message left open. A receipt in the wrong pocket. A call at the wrong time. Some careless little crack in the wall where the whole truth could finally push through. But my wife did not need one crack. She had been watching the whole wall shift. She noticed the nights I came home with rehearsed answers. She noticed how I started showering before I kissed her hello. She noticed the way I carried my phone from room to room, even when I was only getting a glass of water. She noticed that I stopped being surprised by my own lies. And instead of giving me the fight I expected, she started preparing. Quietly. She opened a separate bank account. She copied documents from the filing cabinet. She changed the passwords to things that were hers before they became ours. She called a lawyer during lunch breaks and came home before I did, setting the table like nothing had changed. I thought I was the one keeping secrets. But she was building an exit while I was still decorating the lie. That is what made it so humiliating. Not just that she knew, but that she had known long enough to become calm. By the time I realized something was wrong, she had already moved through fear, through rage, through grief, and into planning. I was still thinking about how to explain myself. She was thinking about where she would sleep after she left. I was still deciding which version of the truth would hurt her least. She had already decided my version did not matter. And when a person reaches that place, you are not waiting for them to discover the truth anymore. You are waiting for them to stop needing anything from you. The day the truth came out, I talked more than I had talked in months. That is another thing I hate remembering. My wife stood in the bedroom doorway with the suitcase open behind her, and I filled the room with words. Because silence made me feel like I was already losing. I said it was a mistake. She looked at me. I said I had been confused. She blinked once. I said I never stopped loving her. She looked down at the clothes in her hand and folded one shirt neatly before placing it in the suitcase. That was when I started to panic. Not because she was angry, because she was not. Anger would have given me something to push against. Questions would have given me a place to explain. Tears would have let me believe there was still a part of her asking me to fix what I broke. But she gave me nothing, so I kept talking. I told her it did not mean what she thought it meant. I told her I was ashamed. I told her I would do anything. Therapy, transparency, passwords, whatever she needed. I said I would end it. I said it was already over. I said things that contradicted each other because I was no longer trying to tell the truth. I was trying to stop the ending. She zipped the inside pocket of the suitcase. Then she finally said, "Are you finished?" 2 words. That was all. I stared at her. What? Are you finished? She repeated. I felt insulted for half a second, which is insane. I had destroyed the marriage, and some part of me still expected my pain to be treated gently. I said, You're not even going to talk to me. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and for a moment I saw how tired she was. Not tired from that conversation. Tired from all the conversations she must have had alone in her head before this one. She said, I already listened to you for years. I shook my head. That's not fair. She gave the smallest nod. No, she said. It wasn't. Then she closed the suitcase. I wanted to fall apart. I wanted to grab her hands. I wanted to make one sentence land hard enough to bring her back into the room with me. But every sentence I had was about me. My regret. My fear. My love. My shame. Even my apology was still trying to make her stay and witness how sorry I was. She picked up the suitcase handle. The lawyer will contact you, she said. And that was the moment I understood that I was not being denied a conversation. I was facing the result of every conversation I had stolen from her before. She packed like I was just a room she needed to leave. That is the part that still plays in my head. Not a scream, not a slap, not a broken picture frame. Just her hands moving through drawers with a calmness that made my chest feel hollow. She took what she needed first. Work clothes, her passport, a small box of jewelry, the charger from her side of the bed. Then she opened the bottom drawer and pulled out the folder where we kept important papers. Birth certificates, insurance documents, the mortgage, tax returns, the kind of boring things that only matter when a life is being separated into pieces. I followed her from room to room. I kept saying her name. She did not answer. I said, Please just look at me. She folded a sweater. I said, We can talk about this. She placed the sweater in the suitcase. I said, Don't leave like this. She paused then. For one stupid second I thought I had reached her. But she only looked at the closet behind me and said, Move. Not angry, not loud, just done. I stepped aside, and that single word hurt more than anything she could have thrown at me. Because I realized she was not trying to punish me. She was trying to get past me. I had spent the whole time imagining myself as the center of her pain. The man she would yell at. The man she would question. The man whose answers could still change the shape of the ending. But to her in that moment, I was an obstacle between her and the door. She took her wedding ring off in the hallway. No drama. No speech. She just slid it from her finger and placed it on the small table where we used to leave our keys. The sound was tiny, metal against wood, but it felt final in a way my own words never had. I wanted to pick it up. I wanted to put it back in her hand. I wanted to say vows still meant something. But vows are not magic. They do not protect a marriage after one person has used them as decoration. She zipped the suitcase. That sound was the loudest thing in the house. Then she lifted the handle, walked to the front door, and left without looking back. And I stood there in the hallway, surrounded by everything we owned together, realizing she had taken the one thing I could not chase: her willingness to hear me. The next morning, her phone number no longer belonged to me. I do not mean she changed it right away. Maybe she did. Maybe she had already done it before she walked out. All I know is that when I called, it went straight to nothing. No ringing, no voicemail, no chance to hear her voice for 3 seconds and pretend I was still connected to her. I called again, then again. Then I texted. The message did not deliver. I opened her profile on social media. Gone. Or maybe I was gone from it. I emailed her. For 2 hours there was nothing. Then an automatic reply came back short and clean, telling me all communication regarding the separation should go through her attorney. Her attorney? Not my wife. Not the woman who used to ask me to taste pasta sauce. Not the woman who used to send me pictures of dogs she wanted to adopt but knew we never would. An attorney. A name at the bottom of an email. A phone number that was not hers. An office address. That was the first time I understood she had not left so I could chase her. She left so chasing would not work. I tried her sister. No answer. I tried her best friend. Straight to voicemail. I drove past the coffee shop where she used to stop before work, then hated myself for becoming the kind of man who thought proximity was the same as apology. By noon, I had sent a message I will never forget. Please just let me explain. The reply came from the attorney 2 days later. Do not contact my client directly. My client. That phrase made my stomach turn, because somewhere between the suitcase closing and that email arriving, my wife had become someone I was no longer allowed to reach. Not emotionally, not legally, not casually. And I realized her silence was not a pause in the conversation. It was the end of my access. At first, I thought her silence was cruel. I told myself she was punishing me. I told myself she wanted me to suffer, wanted me to sit with unanswered calls and unread messages, wanted me to feel small every time another email came from a stranger with a law degree. And maybe part of me wanted that to be true, because if her silence was cruelty, then I could still feel like a victim of something, even after everything I had done. But slowly. In the days after she left, I started to understand. She was not silent to hurt me. She was silent because hearing me had already hurt her enough. For years, she had listened to my excuses, to my half-truths, to my tired voice saying work ran late, to my careful answers when she asked normal questions, to my love you before sleep when I had already given parts of myself to someone else. She had listened long enough, and if she let me speak now, I knew what I would do. I would cry. I would explain. I would pull every soft memory from our marriage and lay it in front of her like evidence that I was still worth considering. I would say I was broken. I would say I was scared. I would say I never meant for this to happen. And maybe she knew me well enough to know that if she heard all of that, some part of her might start questioning herself again. Maybe she would wonder if leaving was too harsh. Maybe she would remember who I used to be. Maybe she would carry my regret on top of her own pain. So she protected herself the only way left. She removed the door I kept trying to talk through. That is what I did not understand at first. A boundary can feel like punishment to the person who used to benefit from having none. Her silence was not a game. It was not revenge. It was not coldness for the sake of being cold. It was the last clean place she could stand without my voice reaching her. And once I saw that I could not hate her for it, I could only hate that I had made silence feel safer than me. What haunts me is not that she hates me. I do not even know if she does. For a while, I wanted her to. That sounds strange, but hatred would have meant I was still somewhere inside her. Still a wound she touched. Still a name that could change her breathing. Still someone with enough power to ruin a morning. I thought being hated would be the worst thing. It was not. Being unnecessary was worse. The emails from her lawyer were polite, organized, empty of anything that sounded like her. Dates, documents, requests, deadlines. Nothing extra, nothing personal. She did not send one angry paragraph. She did not ask if I missed her. She did not tell me she hoped I regretted it. She did not even give me the comfort of knowing I could still make her furious. She had moved past the place where my words could pull her back into pain. And I realized then that what I wanted was not only forgiveness. I wanted to matter. I wanted my apology to land somewhere. I wanted my regret to be witnessed. I wanted her to look at me and see the man she once loved buried somewhere under the man who hurt her. But she had stopped digging. That is what destroyed me. Not that she thought I was unforgivable, but that she no longer needed to decide what I was. Love and hate both keep a thread tied between two people. But silence. Silence cuts the thread without asking who is still holding on. I did not lose her when she walked out the door. I lost her long before that. I lost her every time I lied and told myself I would explain later. I lost her every time I delayed the truth, because I wanted one more normal dinner, one more quiet morning, one more night where she still looked at me like a husband instead of a stranger. I thought confession was something I could schedule. I thought regret would matter whenever I was finally ready to show it. But pain does not wait politely for the person who caused it to become brave. By the time she packed that suitcase, I was still trying to begin a conversation she had already survived alone. That is the part I live with now. A truth told too late does not always set anyone free. Sometimes it just proves how long you are willing to let someone stay trapped. And an explanation only has value when the person you hurt still wants to hear it. Once they have protected themselves from your voice, your reasons are no longer a bridge. They are just noise on the other side of a closed door. So I will leave you with this. When someone has been betrayed, do they owe the person who hurt them one final conversation? Or is silence the last right they have left? Thank you for listening to this story with me. If it touched you, please don't forget to like this video and follow the channel for more stories like this. And most importantly, leave a comment below with your thoughts, how this story made you feel, and what you would have done in their place.